How has homeschooling changed our family's life? And how can it change yours? Hi, I'm Cheryl, and I'm probably a lot like you, a hesitant homeschooler. I never imagined I'd be homeschooling my kids, but I knew the traditional school system wasn't right for us. In 2023, I started a podcast to learn everything there is to learn about homeschooling by interviewing homeschooling families. What I discovered has inspired me to leave my government job and embrace homeschooling. And now I'm here to share with you what I've learned so that I can help you homeschool with confidence and ease. Okay, let's break it down. So, how has homeschooling changed my life? Oh my God. I lived that life in a cubicle. The cubicle life. I worked for the government. So I went from a couple different government agencies, the tax department, Department of Labor, Medicaid Inspector General, the welfare. I worked doing lots of different things. And you know what? None of it was fulfilling. And now that I look back at the programs, none of them actually benefited people. So that's another story. But there's something to be said for being told where to go every day and sit in your desk and when you can get up and when you can leave. And oh, wait, that sounds a lot like school, doesn't it? Well, they've been grooming us the whole time for this. So of course, I thought it was normal when my adulthood was spent in a desk within cement walls, being told when to show up, when to leave, and sit and smile. We don't really care if you're helping anybody. How did I go from sitting in a cubicle all day working for the government to homeschooling? Well, like most of us, 2020 happened, and I realized I have no control over my child when they are in the school system. So not only do we not have control over what gets injected into them, what's put over their face, the hand sanitizer on the hands, the food they're consuming with the free breakfast and lunch that they offer all kids these days, the parents have no control, literally no control. Even in a private preschool, they were putting hand sanitizer on my son after I'd asked them not to. This really bothered me. They were masking kids at 3 years old in daycare in New York, and we were just not having any of that. So we pulled them from daycare and thought, oh my God, are we gonna have to learn how to whittle and sew our own clothes and become homeschoolers? Well, now I actually understand the benefits of sewing and whittling, and I really would be. And I think I'm gonna research some YouTube videos after this to find out how. But all right, let's get back on track. The whole process of the education system itself is kind of bogus. It wasn't always done this way, guys. People have been homeschooling since the beginning of time, back in 6000 BC, Mesopotamia, I don't know. But I went to public school. I didn't really learn a whole lot about that time period. But they were all educating through family and community, and they were educating with the needs to survive. Does anybody you know how to survive without the government's assistance right now? Can you grow your own food, build your own house, power your electrical devices, find clean water? They have made it so that we all need the government, and it's time to step back and reclaim some of that. So how has our life changed? Well, I started interviewing homeschooling families, and after 2 years now, I have seen, wow, I had it all wrong, all backwards. And that social justice warrior that I was fighting for the cause, really, I had fallen for kind of an agenda that really doesn't serve my family or me. So we took a step back, we decided to homeschool, and no, I have not done everything right, even though I've interviewed over 100 homeschooling families at this point, but that's okay. I want to tell you what I have learned from even doing it wrong. Now, first, the rushed mornings. That is the biggest thing for me, I think, like right off the bat when you think of your day. I remember waking up as a kid, my mother saying, come on, we're late, you gotta brush your teeth, get ready, we gotta go to school. And then she'd drop me off at my babysitter's house and I'd sit there and watch Scooby-Doo and just wait. And, you know, it's like this whole idea, and I was doing it to my kid too when I was working for the government, and I would rush him off to daycare every day. Come on, we gotta get up. When you hear that for 5 days a week for 18 years, that's gonna do something to your psyche. And not only is the sort of like rushed lifestyle having an impact on you, but waking a child up before they are ready, that's huge. That's a huge detriment to them. So when you think about what a child's going through, different developmental stages, synapses forming and making connections in their brain, maybe a growth spurt is happening, maybe they're fighting an infection or bacteria. Their body needs that rest for a reason. And okay, we can't have our kids sleeping till 2:00 in the afternoon every day, but letting them sleep, especially when they're young, till their body's ready to wake up, is really a beautiful gift. And then just allowing us to be able to make breakfast, like a healthy breakfast, and not relying on Kellogg's to provide a sugary cereal that is going to put chemicals in our brains and make it so it's harder to concentrate and cause cancer down the line. We are home to be able to make those eggs and make sourdough bread and, put on maybe a homemade jelly. I don't make homemade jelly, but maybe it's on the list for my years to come. We could make homemade jelly if we wanted to. But it's really having the time to think about the food that we're putting in our bodies and into our children's bodies, and having the time to make something wholesome and nutritious for them so that they can learn and it's easier for them. They're not fighting different chemicals in their brain for the attention. And then this also goes into your evenings when we live the lifestyle of work and school or work and daycare. The evenings would be, I'd pick my son up and it'd be dark out already, a lot of times 5:30, 6:00 by the time we're getting home. So there'd be no outside time that we could have together, unless maybe it was summer months. There's a couple months where it's probably still light out for a little bit, but he's tired from the day and I was tired from just sitting there doing nothing probably all day, most days. And now it's rush to get something on the table, rush to get everybody in the bath, and then rush to get to bed, and never really having the time to develop those connections. Now it's really nice because by the time my husband comes home from work, even if it's late, and it usually is, between 6 and 7 o'clock, my dinner's already been in the crock pot or in the Instapot and it's ready to go when he comes home. And we can sit and actually just talk. We're not drained from our day. We can talk to him about what we did, what we learned, where we went, what we discovered, what we worked on, maybe a game we played or a homeschooling group that we met up with, a field trip we went on. Earlier this week, we did a medical freedom rally and went ice skating afterwards for the first time. Ooh, that was me home. That was me ice skating for the first time. That was interesting. But you know what? It was fun. I survived it and we had a lot of laughs and a great time doing it. So it's getting to actually have these talks, these connections where we're together all day and we can tell my husband about our day. He can tell us about his day. And it's not like everybody was in a different direction and we all have no connection to each other. So we're there to kind of become close, further the development of our connection together. So that's really awesome. And then because my kids don't have to be up at any certain time in the morning, and not every homeschooling family has that leisure. Some do programs that are early in the morning or meetups or, kids just get up early. But, we have that time in the evening where my kids can bond with their dad. We can play a game or have a family movie night. Maybe it's work on a project that, putting back the remote control race car that we took apart because it wasn't working. My husband has the time and ability in the evenings to sit there and do that with the kids. And if they go to bed at 10 or 11 at night, it's not that big of a deal. And then they sleep later in the morning and I get time in the morning to work on the podcast or make this video. So that's really been a beautiful part of homeschooling that I've gotten to experience, that I didn't really expect that in the beginning. Another thing that is huge, I was having a conversation with I was interviewing someone for my podcast last night, and she mentioned the milestones that we miss as parents. And I remember missing them as my son was in daycare. I remember them saying to me, "Don't worry, we won't tell you if he crawls for the first time or walks for the first time." And I remember thinking, gee, I don't know if that's supposed to make me feel better, but it doesn't end there. We kind of think about those milestones ending at walking, crawling, and talking. But the milestones keep going, right? Until our kids are probably well into their 40s. I hit milestones all the time. I don't know if my mother cares about seeing them or not, but I've hit them. So when we think about the first time they learn how to read a word or read a whole sentence or tie their shoe or learn to ice skate or have an idea. When my son was taking apart his remote control car yesterday, he said, "Mom, I think it's the rear differential." And I was there to see him say that. And then lo and behold, it was the rear differential. So it's like, wow, I've now discovered an interest that he has. I've discovered something he's really good at, and I can take that subject and extrapolate it to multiple areas, whether it's reading, writing, math, science, technology. I can take any of those subjects and relate it to putting parts together for a car. And now it's going to make sense in his world. It's going to be relevant to his world. And that is just like an amazing thing. But not only that, but just seeing them hit these milestones of, even if it's just being kind to their sibling or nice to a friend, like these are all little things that are going on in their day. And when I was in a cubicle and he was at daycare or school, I was missing those things. And it's just been so eye-opening to see them, especially because I've been home with my daughter every day since she's been born. My son was in daycare and in preschool. So now I'm seeing the difference. I think if my son stayed in school and was always in school and I was always in work, it wouldn't be as apparent to me what I'd be missing. But being home with my daughter, I'm like, wow, I was robbed of things with my son, and luckily I'm home with him now that I get to see them as they progress in him at age 6 and beyond. But there are so many things that I was robbed of that I had no idea I was being robbed of. So that's something huge that homeschooling has provided us. And then just spending my days with people at work. These people were not people that align with my values or people that have the same interests as me, but yet I was spending a majority of my week with them. We don't think about that often, but like, what a waste, right? What a waste. And my kids, the same thing. They would be in daycare and in school with people just like, oh, because we're all 8 years old. We all are supposed to like get along and want to learn the same things the same way at the same time and then be tested on it. That's crazy. It's actually crazy and so unfair to these kids. So, spending our day with intention, and I mean, gosh, I heard that being said and it never made sense to me. I'm like, am I supposed to get up and do yoga every day? There's nothing wrong with getting up and doing yoga every day, but I just don't do that. So, I'm sitting there thinking, do I need to be like a master yogi to like wake up with intention? Am I supposed to have like little Post-it notes written on my medicine cabinet too? You shouldn't have a medicine cabinet. It's all the whole pharma industry. Just throw out the medicine cabinet. But we're spending our day with people that don't align with our values. Our kids are spending their day with kids just because they're the same age in the same demographic area. And it makes no sense. So when you, like for instance, we can wake up and say, all right, we really like this family. Let's go to the park with them today. Or we really like, my son loves to fish. So he has a friend that also loves to fish. Today we're going to go fishing with Gabriel. It's like you're waking up and you're spending your day with people with intention. And it just doesn't make sense to surround ourselves with people that, unless you have to make money, but to surround ourselves with people that we don't value is kind of a waste of time. And let's get into wasted time. Do you know how much time is wasted for a school student to, first of all, wait for the bus, to wait for to wait to get into the school building, to wait to get to their class, to wait for their class to begin, to wait for attendance, to wait for them to talk about what yesterday's lesson was, and then start the new lesson and wait for everyone to settle down. And then the bell rings and you're waiting to go to the next class. It's like a whole day of waiting. I've calculated it out. Do you know how much time is wasted as a school student? 5 to 10 months of their life. That is 5 to 10 months of their childhood wasted on waiting. Now, I'm not saying that everything we do has intention at home, but even if it's my child sitting in front of Coco Melon, she's doing that because that's what she wants to do at that time, not because she's forced to. And, there's just something to be said for the amount of time and how we value time and how we really want to spend that time while we are here on Earth, because it is a short time. So, what have I learned from the other families about homeschooling? Well, homeschooling isn't just about academics. It is a lifestyle. And again, that whole what does that even mean? Well, what it means is that learning is in everyday things that you do with your kids. Learning is in making breakfast together, making the eggs. My son is 6 and he makes the eggs. He's learning how to work a stove, where eggs come from. He's taking care of the chickens and getting the eggs from the coop. There's so much learning going on there, and how you measure things, and there's math and dexterity and learning about safety. So that's huge. If we are driving in a car somewhere, you might say, well, Cheryl, that's wasted time too. Do you think you don't waste an ounce of your day? Sure we do. But when we do drive in the car somewhere, I do try to make it somewhat fun and say, all right, let's find some S's on the signs. And you can play a game for whoever finds the S's first, or whatever letter you're working on. Maybe it's a whole word that you're working on. Maybe it's a color. Maybe it's a bird. There's so many things in the car. Maybe you're working on telling time, and you can kind of test your kid every couple of minutes. What time is it now? Maybe you can have the map up of where you're going, and your child can tell you how many more minutes till you get there. How many minutes was it when we started? Let's do the math. How far have we traveled so far? How long has it taken us? How much more time do we have left to go? Are we going east or west or north or south? Well, let's look at the sun and look at the time and see if we can figure out which direction we're going by where the sun is right now. There's so much you can talk about in the car. Conversations count as homeschooling. They should be documented and put in your reports that you have to report to your school if you have to report at all. There's just so much that goes into your day-to-day where your child is learning things that are relevant to their life, to their world, that when it's done in school, in a textbook, because now is 10 to 11 o'clock and that's when we work on time, it doesn't mean as much to them. Embracing flexibility has been a huge thing. Learning happens naturally throughout the day, like we were just talking about. It's not on a rigid schedule. If my son's really into taking apart this remote control vehicle because he wants to get it fixed, that's his lesson for that day. And that's all he's doing. Okay, that is what he enjoys. He's learning so much from it, and we can expand on it as the days go by. If it's a holiday coming up, I usually order books from book lists, like the Read Aloud Revival book lists. There's so many amazing homeschooling parents that have put together these awesome book lists, and you can order the books to come right to your library. So I'll order a whole month's books at a time, and so we've just got them in our house. We try to get to them every day, get to a couple, or for like a holiday that's coming up, we'll have books for that. And where does this take you? Just to be flexible with doing something different. And how can we relate this to nature? How can we relate it to something my kid is really into? I know the other day he found some STEM kits from Amazon that he had gotten for his birthday and sort of put somewhere where we forgot about. So we spent the whole week putting together these little remote control vehicles, and a wind powered vehicle, and a solar powered vehicle. And when he made a mistake, that's when he learned so much about it, because it was like, this whole thing's put together, it's not running. What did I do wrong? Going back through the directions and realizing, oh my gosh, the brackets were put on the wrong way. And the mistakes are where the learning is. So welcome those mistakes and be flexible. Learn with where they want to learn, what's going on in their life at that time, and don't worry so much about getting through a curriculum. You really want to prioritize relationships over anything else. So families who homeschool often have stronger bonds, and parent bonds, stronger sibling bonds, and it makes sense, right? You're together all day. You're valuing each other. My son was just kind of talking about like, well, I have this best friend and he told me I wasn't his best friend anymore. And I'm the second best friend to him. And, I had to stop him and say, listen, your family is your best friend. You can have as many good friends as you want, but your family will always be your best friend. You're always going to be number one to us. And when you look at school today, they're trying to break apart the family unit and remove the parents from the equation. I know that sounds drastic and crazy, but it's true and it's well documented. So, really just building that strong connection. And what's an easy way to do that? Playing board games. Board games together. Maybe your kid isn't into a certain kind of board game, but that's okay because there's so many games out there. There's games for all different age levels. There's different things that, ones that are good for math or science or history or strategy. Just learning how to take turns and how to be a good winner and a good loser. Board games are amazing. And I would say if this is your first year, you want to try homeschooling, there's nothing better that you can do for your child than ordering books from some book lists, getting them delivered to your library, and reading those books with your kids every day if you can, playing games with them every day, and getting out in nature every day. Those are like, your kid and you are just going to have like the most amazing year together. You don't need a single ounce of curriculum, and you don't even need to spend a lot of money because you can get a lot of board games secondhand. So whether it's through garage sales or, a Facebook marketplace type thing, or even just asking friends, put on Facebook, hey, I'm looking for these board games, or does anyone have board games they want to donate? We're doing kind of a little board game experiment right now. So be creative, think outside the box. Don't think you have to go to Amazon and pay all that money. And if you do want to go to Amazon and you want to check out a game before you purchase it, go on YouTube and try to find a video of someone playing that game. Yes, that is a thing. People have thought of everything. So go to YouTube, watch someone play this game. Is this something that you guys will like? Show it to your kid. Do they think this will be fun? All right, spend the money if you want to spend the money. No one will be mad at you for that. So another way homeschooling has changed my life is we have sort of redefined what success means. Education is not about grades. It's about curiosity, connection, and growth. Testing should have no part in any child's education. The fact that they are taking all kids that are the same age, teaching them the same thing the same way, and then testing them on it's criminal. It's disgusting. And schools get funding this way, and it's like this is not about nurturing a child's individual curiosity, interests, and passions. So really define what success means to you. Why are you educating your kid at all? What do you want them to have a good job, right? That's what most people say. I want my kid to have a good job. All right, well, I had a good job. I reached 6 figures. I had nights and weekends off. I had a steady pay. I had health insurance. Sick insurance is what you probably call it, but I had insurance, and I wasn't happy. I'm not saying that I wasted 16 years. I think I learned a lot. I think it was definitely worth something. I won't get that pension that I was promised. Yeah, I would have gotten 60% of my 3 highest years' salary. So oh God, I got a little nauseous there thinking about that. I walked away from making $60,000 a year in my retirement, like $100,000 a year. I mean, probably even more than that because I had 14 years left to go. I was making $100,000 a year when I left. And when I retired, I would have gotten 60% of that every single year till I died. Now, granted, Cuomo or Hochul probably would have made sure I died very early on by pumping carcinogens into our air in the state offices. But it's still crazy to think that I walked away from a retirement of $60,000 a year till death to make nothing. No, podcasters don't make anything. I don't have anything. I don't have anything. But maybe someday. It's a business. I'm growing it. It's all good. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy spreading the word. So, but, redefine what success means. Do you want to raise a child who can be a business owner, who wants to be a lifelong learner? Do you want to raise a child who's self-sufficient? Do you want to raise a child that's been around the world? Do you want to raise a child that knows multiple cultures and languages? Do you want to raise a child that is just hands-on and can build a house or a vehicle? What are you educating your child for? And you should write that down and come back to it often. Come back to it as your child gets older and learns more of their interests, and have them, have some input into it. But, it shouldn't just be, we send them to school because that's what everybody does, and they graduate and they go to college because that's what everybody does, and they get into $200,000 or more of debt because that's what everybody does, and then they take the first job that is offered to them because that's what everybody does, and they have to start paying back those student loans. That's crazy. It's asinine. We're not stopping to think of the big picture. You have to stop and think of the big picture here. Why are we doing it at all? You don't need endless amounts of money. You just need enough to survive and have a little cushion. So can you do that? Can you do that and do it happily? I think, there's been studies, I'm sure. I remember a friend telling me that she studied abroad, and like the happiest group of kids she ever saw were playing in like a landfill, like a dumpster landfill. They were just having the time of their life, probably getting all sorts of diseases, but that's okay. They're probably healthier than the Americans here. But, it's like, how much do you really need? So I had in my mind, oh my God, $60,000 a year, $60,000 a year, $60,000 a year. And that's just in retirement. That's not even what I would be making until retirement. But it didn't mean anything what if I got cancer at 62? It doesn't matter. It's not, all those years that I was in the cubicle and my kids were in school were wasted. We lived life apart. All the connections we could have made, the experiences we could have had, didn't have them because I was too busy waiting for that money. What if the dollar collapses? I mean, they're printing money every day. It doesn't have much value anymore. We're pretty ignorant to think that there's always going to be an American dollar. There hasn't even been an America prior to 250 years ago. Why would we think that our dollar is so powerful? We're printing them every day. We know that it means nothing. What if the dollar just collapses, okay? I'm 60 years old and ready for my retirement, and there's nothing. And again, I wasted all that time in a cubicle while my kids were young and needed me, and I missed all the experiences that I could have had. So I really want that message to come through. The connections with your kids, I can't talk about that anymore. I mean, I've already said the things that you miss when your kid is at daycare, when your kid is in school. They're breaking down the family unit on purpose, and it's just such a tragedy. So prioritizing your health and well-being, I mean, that's been huge for us. I'm not where I want to be yet, but I'm taking small strides to get there. I'm making sourdough bread and drinking raw milk and raw yogurt and getting raw honey from a friend that has a beehive, and we've got chickens, and trying to get our meat and poultry from local farms, and really trying to get the chemicals out of our products, even though all this makeup has chemicals in it. I'm told you I'm not there 100% yet, but trying to get the chemicals out of your laundry detergents, your shampoos, conditioners, lotions, your soaps. It's, once you get into the homeschooling community, you realize that this family is really good at this and this one's really good at that, and everyone kind of lends a hand to each other. So you don't have to be good at everything. You don't have to do everything and make everything yourself. But hey, I make some soaps now and you make honey. Let's exchange. This one has maple syrup. It naturally sort of becomes part of your lifestyle. And it's really a beautiful thing to get back to our roots. I will just leave you with the trade-offs to send our kids to school where they dangle those carrots like prom, football game, homecoming games, school trips. They are stealing much, much, much more. And just like they're dangling the carrot of a pension, they're stealing so much more. Nothing, if it seems too good to be true, it is. So really take a step back. Look at what they're robbing you of. Make some financial sacrifices. Trade the vacation in for a camping trip. You're going to have a more meaningful experience. You can always make more money later. You can always go to that big extravagant vacation later on in life. Camping is so much fun. And what is camping? It's back to the roots. Making your own food, building your fire, building your shelter, and just sitting around and having conversation. Gain control over your life and over the influences that impact your children. You will not regret this decision. And don't replicate school. Just live life together. Read, play games, go out in nature, and have fun. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video useful, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on that notification button so you don't miss my upcoming videos. I have one coming up on game schooling, all the different types of homeschooling that there are out there, so you can pick the one that's right for you. You do not want to miss that. And don't forget to check out my podcast, The Homeschool How-To, interviews with homeschoolers, so that you can gain insights straight from the horse's mouth. I'll see you in the next video.